Hi, I'm Kailani, and today I'm going to show how to create a beautiful winter wreath. The first thing you'll want to do for this project is gather all of your supplies. You'll need a wire wreath frame, which you can get at any craft store. It helps to have heavy-duty shears for cutting through some of these thicker branches. You'll also need 20-gauge wire cutters, and then lastly you're going to gather the greenery into bunches like this. So it helps if you can purchase these little plastic hair ties from the drugstore. You can also use the wire to secure the ends of the bunches, but it's a lot easier if you have the hair ties. So after you've gathered all of your supplies, you'll select the greenery that you want to use in your wreath. So I've chosen pine, myrtle, some Ming fern, and some other wispy branches. And then I also want to have a little bit of color in my wreath. So I have these coffee berries as well. But you can use whatever seasonal where you live. So after you've selected your greens, you're ready to start creating your bunches. So you'll want to start with your thicker greenery first. So for me, that's my princess pine, followed by my myrtle, and then I'm just going to layer some of these wispy branches up on top. And by starting with the thicker branches, you're just adding some structure and support to your wreath. And then I really want the coffee berry to stand out in my wreath, so I'm going to add that last on top of all the other greenery. So once I have my first bunch, I'm just going to take one of the rubber bands and secure it on the bottom. Like that. And then I also really want the greenery to show in my wreath, so I'm going to create some of my bunches with just the greenery without the coffee berry. So I'll do that next. So I'm going to follow the same process of starting with some of my thicker branches, followed by my lighter pieces. And then I'll secure this bunch with a rubber band as well. Now I've created my bunches in advance, which I recommend doing because you can ensure that they're about the same size. So once you start putting your wreath together, it's easier to create a symmetrical wreath if all of your bunches are of a similar size. So now I'm ready to start putting my wreath together. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my wire and I'm just going to wrap it around the outside edge of my wreath frame about 3 times so it's nice and secure. I'll then take one of the bunches with the coffee berry and I'll lay that on top of my wreath frame. And then I'm just going to take the wire and I'm going to secure the bunch on the wreath frame by twisting it around the outside edge about 4 times. Just like that. And then I'm going to alternate the bunches with the coffee berry and those without. So next I'll take a bunch without the coffee berry and I'll lay that right on top. And then I'm going to follow that same process of wrapping the wire around the bunch and the wreath frame. Now an important part of this process is you want to leave the wire on the spool. It just makes it a lot easier to secure the bunches than having to cut and reattach the wire each time. So as you can see, my wreath is already starting to take shape. So I'm just going to continue this process until the entire wreath frame is filled in. Now at this point, I'm almost done with my wreath, and I've just been alternating the bunches with the coffee berry with those without, and wrapping the wire about 3 times around the outside edge of the wreath frame and the bunch. And once I get to my last bunch, I'm just going to tuck it behind the first so that the wire and the rubber band doesn't show. And then once that last bunch is nice and secure, I'm just going to take my wire cutters and cut the wire and then wrap it around the outside edge of the wreath frame. Now at this point, I'm almost done with my wreath, but there are still a few spaces around the inside edges that don't have any greenery covering it. So now that I already have my wire in place from the bunches, it's really easy to just tuck some of the greenery behind the wire. So once I take a final look at my wreath and all the bare spots are filled in, I'm finished with my wreath, and I have a beautiful piece that will look great hung on the front door throughout the entire season.